Hello, guys. Happy Thanksgiving week. Hope everyone's having a wonderful time and has calmed down and relaxed post Ignite. Today we have Tom and myself. Going to be bringing updates to you. Jen is busy trying to wrap everything up before she's dealing with her family for Thanksgiving. So you get the two wonderfully handsome gentlemen that are Tom and myself.
Works for me. Dealing with her family over the holidays. She's
That
gonna
sounded
get on.
more negative than I really intended
Yeah.
it to be. She's hosting her lovely family that she's super excited to see.
Wow. And I thought I was good at spin. Way to go, dude.
So we'll probably have a fairly short update this week. This is actually kind of covering 2 weeks that we went through. But when we're going through the actual update channel of us looking at the different topics, a lot of them are them just bringing stuff up to speed in the roadmap, adding things post Ignite, stuff like that. So Tom and I will go through and read off some of the highlights that we really care about. If you do want the whole update list, as always, I'm sure Jen will be including that when she shares out the link. So if you have any questions, just let us know. And besides that, we'll go ahead and kick it off. We will be doing in development, followed by rolling out, followed by launched, and there actually are no canceled this week. So we'll be hitting those three sections. And Tom, take it away, my friend.
Sure. The first thing on the list, and as Adam stated, there's a lot of ones where we have talked about these over the last few weeks, if not months. So we probably will make those really quick or maybe not even mention them at all. But one of the items that is really cool, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this actually comes out, is listed as SharePoint and Microsoft Teams new file experience. And that's where you're going to be able to do more things in the files in Teams that are similar to what you see in SharePoint. So triggering workflows, custom views, things like that. It says available this summer, so my guess is it's was a little late in getting out to us, but I think not having two completely different experiences in dealing with files, especially since they're both SharePoint document libraries in the back end, I think is going to be really good that we don't have to continue to train people on two different ways of dealing with things and just say, okay, it works the same way regardless of whether you're in Teams or whether you're in SharePoint, because you're really in SharePoint anyway. So I think that one's real good. Along with the SharePoint team sites having a next steps panel. Um, they they've got it says an in-service help that appears at the top of a team site. The actions that are suggested are driven more by the use of the site instead of just a carbon copy of everybody gets the same actions, even though that may not be relevant to you. So I think this is a good issue or a good example of using the machine learning, learning what kind of things are being done in the site, and giving you things that are more applicable to what you probably want to be doing next, rather than things that really don't pertain to you because you've never done that before in this particular site. So I think that'll be a good change coming forward too.
Yeah, they also have updated roadmap entries, which honestly I don't know how much they changed, but regardless, updated roadmap entries for some of the stuff that we definitely did mention last week around some of the new things coming out for Teams. So secure private channels as well as Meet Now, which I know Tom talked about last week. Both of those have seen updates into the roadmap, kind of bringing them up to modern of where they are with revised release dates, stuff like that. So if you're curious, both of those have been added and gone through. And again, those are features we're all super excited about and think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, we had a couple mentions again, and we've talked about this at least 2 or 3 times, if not more, and that is for Microsoft Stream. You're going to be able to replace videos and retain the existing URL. So if you have to make a change, you're not going to have to change the URL and update your links all over the place. You can just overlay it and it will keep the same URL. So that's, I think, a really cool thing, especially as you're using more and more video content. Plus, they are also in development. I thought it was rolling out. The editing videos in Microsoft Stream, which allows you to go in and trim off like white space or empty dead air at the beginning and at the end of your particular recording, so you don't have to try to take it out to a third-party tool, do all your cleanup, put it back in again. You'll be able to do that within Stream. So I think that's really cool too.
Yeah, one of the ones that I thought was interesting that I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on, Tom. If you look, one of the things that they added was updated SharePoint start page experience. They basically say the SharePoint start page, previously known as the SharePoint home, is getting a user interface refresh, and they're adding new experiences to the start page to help users discover and get back to their content. I kind of saw this one as, they announced kind of like the new what they're kind of intending as the new landing page or home sites when they went through an Ignite. So I saw this as a way for them to kind of redesign what oftentimes for users filled that experience beforehand. Is that kind of how you interpret it as well?
That sounds right. I mean, I'm a little torn because to me, my SharePoint start page is the landing page for our SharePoint intranet.
Sure.
And I will admit that I'm not the type that goes out and gets the little waffle and all those kind of things out there. So I'll have to see how this grows on me. But I think that being able to start bringing in content that helps, as they say, helps user discover and get back to their content, kind of bringing in some of those elements of Delve to where it finds the content finds you, not you having to go out and find content that you don't even know exists. So I think anything they can do to make that work better is definitely a plus.
Yep, my mind keeps going right to Delve when I'm reading all this stuff. It seems like they're really trying to bring that targeted, personalized experience to a lot of the different features that you really kind of saw debuted and kind of featured in the Delve experience. And once you got over the Big Brother aspect of it, it actually is really cool when you look at how they kind of target stuff at you. So I kind of see that too with some of the stuff that they're doing. One of the other new ones that I would have been a lot more excited about 10 years ago, but I'm sure there are some people out there. They are releasing a Teams client for Linux, which I thought was kind of cool. I don't know how many people are out there, but if I look at like my old job at Rackspace where I worked, we had people at that company that literally only ran Linux machines because what they did for day to day was supporting Linux clients, so they ran a Linux desktop. So that would have been a barrier of entry to rolling out Teams as the chat client for Rackspace, because if you didn't have a Linux client, you couldn't do it for the Linux people. They'd never be able to participate in chat. So again, I don't personally use Linux anymore, but I did way back in the day. And I think it's a cool step just for, again, organizations that might be like Rackspace, where you're large enough to have some people that literally are running Linux for their actual desktop software.
It's actually, that kind of reminds me back in the days when I was doing Lotus Notes and I'd gone to work for Enron. And our chief technical officer was really old school. And so he means like, I want the Lotus Notes mail client to act like tin. Why? Because that's what I'm used to. And I'm like, okay. But it's like, wow, okay. Yeah, strip all that HTML garbage out. We don't want that. We just want straight text.
The mail nerd in me saw something that I thought was really cool. It doesn't specify if they're going to lock this behind any feature sets, but they have a new update that I actually hadn't heard about yet before called Unverified Sender Available. It's basically something they're working on for Outlook clients, where if you get mail from a user that you're not sure is that actual sender, whether they don't have, SPF records, it's looking for things for spoof, whether it's a different mail from a different message to you. If they've changed everyone knows you can go in and spoof a message to look like whoever you want. Well, it's going to be going through and looking for some of those details, and if it can't verify that everything looks correct, it's going to basically start warning users. And I think this is pretty cool. I think this is an extra step to try to make users not do silly things. Before this, as someone who worked in mail, those types of things would increase the likelihood that that mail got rated as spam, but wouldn't do anything different if the message actually did get to the user's mailbox. So say that they had a whitelist on there that let it go through, or let's say, well, there's a couple of them that raised a red flag, but they had a very, very, very loose spam policy. So therefore, even though it was rated, an 8 out of 10 to be spam, it still got through. Well, now they actually basically put an extra warning or an extra note for the users to say, like, hey, you might want to be a little bit more cautious. But I think it's really cool. Like I said, I'm just interested to see if they gate that behind any sort of ATP or security licensing or anything like that.
Yeah, it should be interesting to watch that come out. Looking at the rest of the stuff that we have in development, everything on it, I look at it and go, that's an atom, that's an atom, that's an atom, that's an atom. The only thing I see that I can go, wow, that's something I might be interested in. Microsoft Teams, they're moving the location of the new chat button and recent and contact tabs in the chat portion of it. I think that's really good because after all this time, I still have a hard time figuring out how to start a chat with a new person that isn't already on my chat list.
It's not the most intuitive. I'd agree with that.
Thank you. I don't feel so bad now. I want to chat with so-and-so, and where's my Skype client? Because I just can't find it in Teams. So I think cleaning that up and making it a little bit more intuitive in terms of getting to people will definitely come into play as they start getting people to move away from Skype and into Teams. They're going to have to make that chat a little bit easier to work with.
Yeah, I like that too. The last one I'm going to throw out for in development, and again, we'll put out the full list for you guys, but I like seeing this. Basically, right now there is a profile page inside of Azure AD that end users can hit, but getting there is a little bit challenging, and if you ever tell someone they need to go through and do it, it's not something most people know how to do. Where they're basically going to rename it and make it easier to access, called My Account. I think this is important for one major reason. People are having to get more and more involved in Azure AD day in and day out as they're exploring some of the better security features that come with Office 365. So as I'm going through and doing conditional access policies, as I'm going through and doing multi-factor authentication, that is stuff that rests in the Azure portal, not in the Office 365 portal. So having the ability for the users to find what's essentially their profile page, which is again going to get renamed to My Account, is something that I find myself increasingly doing or explaining to admins how to do. So I'm happy to see them revamping that and giving it a new look.
Very cool.
So from there, we can move to rolling out. You want to go ahead and take it away, Tom?
Yeah, rolling out is really small. There's only like 6, 7 entries out there, of which many of them are all Outlook related. So for Outlook and iOS, you've got Do Not Disturb settings, which is good, along with accept a new proposed time to meet and propose a new time to meet. So again, that's kind of cleaning up the whole Outlook and iOS to bring it up to feature parity of what you might expect if you're using Outlook in the browser or Outlook client. Do Not Disturb settings in Outlook for iOS. I don't live in my iPhone for email, so that's probably not going to come into play. But I know as some people are doing a lot of the road warrior work and they're constantly using their phones, these kind of features I think are going to come into play really well. The only other one that I saw in there that I'm even remotely qualified to speak about would be the upload and record videos with the Stream mobile app. We've discussed this many times over the last few months. They finally have it into the rolling out state, so I will be updating my Stream application from the App Store here to see when that comes in, and I'll give that a try when it shows up and probably make that a Spark 1 tip and do it in 1 minute Office magic.
Really, from my side, the only thing I wanted to add here that I thought was cool, they are rolling out service encryption for Exchange Online. In short, this is basically just application-level digital encryption for users of 365. So if you're actually using Exchange Online, there's going to be encryption built into that product itself, which is cool. And it's a free added security feature that you won't notice day-to-day as a user. So I'm all for it.
Sweet.
All right, so finally, let's go ahead and go into the launch section. Again, you can take it away, Tom.
Thank you, because there is only one item here that I am truly even remotely qualified to speak about. The pinned channels in Microsoft Teams, that is now launched. Everybody should have it. And this is really cool. I did a 1 minute Office magic tip on this about a week or two ago. And what it allows you to do is you can go in and take a channel that's in any one of the Teams workspaces. And if you click on the little ellipsis to the side, you've got the option to pin that channel. That channel then shows up at the top of your list of workspaces and stuff as pinned channels. So like in my case, I have general and then our UC team thing. And I thought, oh, this is kind of cool. And I did a couple pinned channels. I don't even go look at the workspaces anymore. It's like, yeah, I probably should, but nope. Everything that I do is in those 2 channels, and that's really all I need to do. So once you use it the first time and you get used to seeing it up there, It's kind of hard to go back to having to monitor your entire workspaces and look and see if anybody's updated something. I mean, you can still have it to where you have your teams, and I just have them all collapsed on the side for the ones I'm part of. And if it's bolded, I know there's something in there. Maybe once a day, once every couple of days, I'll go and look and see, hey, what was in there, or is it in a different channel? But just the fact that the two that are the ones I need to see on a regular basis are right up there and I don't have to keep a bunch of stuff open works out really nicely.
Yeah, cool. So besides that, there's some really cool ones coming through about encryption. I'm not going to go too deep into everything, but just to list out a couple of them because I do think it's kind of neat. This is all basically related to email when you're going through and trying to figure out what's going on. But one, you can now do message encryption for PDF attachments, so it's not something separate. If you have a PDF attachment sending it out, you can still encrypt the message, which is just pretty cool when you go through to see what it does. Outside of that, there's a whole bunch around advanced message encryption. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. There's new features. You guys can read everything coming out about it. There are a couple that I thought was cool. You always have the ability, if you wanted to go in and do custom email templates, so you could go in and create like, okay, I want this to look a certain way. I'm going to put my company's branding on it, stuff like that. That was great, but what happened if you're a company that had 10 small companies inside of it? In particular, I worked with a client for a long time that was an oil and gas company, and in like 2 years that I supported them, they literally bought like 12 companies or something, and not all of them had taken over the branding of the parent company and stuff like that. So if they were wanting to send out encrypted emails, well, they were kind of in a hard spot because they didn't want everything to go out as company A because maybe not everyone even knew that company B was now company A. So this gives you more options in there going through. There's also some cool admin control stuff like message revocation, which if you guys have ever tried to recall an email in Exchange, it's not that great. It's still not that great. You can just do it with encryption now. And then also message expirations. If you want to send an email out that says, oh, well, they can look at this for the next week, but then after that they can't, you have the ability to do that too. So only real things that I saw in launch that I thought was kind of cool that we hadn't necessarily discussed at length.
Yeah, I mean, recalling emails, to me, it's like a Vegas slot machine. You can push the button and you can watch the things roll, but you have no clue as to whether you're going to win at the end.
Well, I always thought it was funny, too. If someone ever recalls a message, it sends a message to the user that you've asked to recall the message. And it's just like, it's like not only do you like not necessarily successfully recall the message, but you then like are basically telling everyone, hey, I effed up, like, sorry about that. Which I always thought was kind of funny. So.
I really didn't want you to know I sent that, but I sent that. Now that you know that I sent that, I really don't want you to see what I sent because I could get in trouble now. Oh, too funny.
Cool. Well, I think that's it for this week, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. We all hope everyone has an absolutely wonderful Thanksgiving and enjoys times with their family. We'll get this posted out, and we'll probably be back next week. I guess we'll just happen to see.
Yeah, next week will be fine. You won't see us this week, but
yeah.
Other than that, this is it, and enjoy your Thanksgiving, and we will, as Adam said, talk to you next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.